But Darius's general, Ariobarzanes, had set a trap.
The Macedonians had pressed deep into the Persian gates before they realized that there was any trouble. And then, when they came here to the Narrows, not far below the watershed of the pass, they suddenly discovered, to their surprise, that the Persians had walled the path and had defended the pass in depth. Then the Persians attacked. From these cliffs above, they launched a hail of rocks, stones, spears and javelins down into the riverbed below. Alexander was helpless. His troops were suffering heavy casualties, and he was forced to order the trumpeter to sound the retreat. The army pulled out of the pass, leaving the dead where they fell. For once in his career, Alexander had been outwitted. And you can imagine how that went down in the royal tent that evening.
Alexander camped back at the mouth of the pass, as we did. He was furious with himself for leading his men into a trap. The story of the battle is still told by the local people here.
موقعی که اسکندر مقدونی اومده وارد ممسنی شده اومده از راه تنگ لاله که همین تنگ
How the
محمد
Persian hero Ariobarzanes tricked the great
اینجا
Alexander.
برخورد کرده به همین قلعه‌ای که الان در حال حاضر معلومه برای ما و بعد اسکندر اینجا عقب نشینی کرده.
How do you know these stories then, Zavary?
اینو من نخوندم اما اون چه که شنیدم همه اینا را
It's a tale, as they say here, which has been passed down from chest to chest.
So this is a story that's been handed down from grandfather to son, is it, in these parts?
بله بله بله.
Alexander was now in a desperate corner.
And is there another way from somewhere around here that can get to the back of the pass?
Urgently now, Alexander asked that same question of his local prisoners. A shepherd told him there was a path, but it was impossible for an army. But Alexander had no choice. At 9 in the evening, he gave the orders to go. His route has never been found, and Zavary and his brother couldn't agree over which way he went. But Zavary seemed to me to be right. Still arguing, they said they'd take us next day. Soon after dawn, we set off. It was about 20 kilometers up to the top. The troops kept absolute silence. Trumpet signals were forbidden. Nerves were on edge. They all knew their lives were in the hands of one local guide, says the historian Curtius. If they were betrayed, they'd be trapped like wild animals.
Look at this. This is exactly what the Greeks describe, isn't it? A very difficult country seamed with ravines and gorges, and all the more unfamiliar to them, says Curtius, because they were travelling it at night. You can really imagine it here, can't you?
We were slower than Alexander, and it took us 3 or 4 hours to get up onto the top above the pass.
So is this it, Ali Akbar? Is this
Yes.
Dasht-i Tavil?
Yeah, that's what they
call it,
Dasht-i Tavil.
Right. Great. So this is exactly what the Greeks meant when they said, when they came up the gully and they got to the top. This is it, isn't it?
On top, at about 6,000 or 7,000 feet, there's a plateau. Here, Alexander stopped to divide his forces and take some food.
So, Habibullah, what do you think? Do you think he could have brought an army of 10 or 15,000 men up here?
ولی امکان داره.
Possible.
بله.
Yeah. No tea though, for them. So imagine the middle of the night, a freezing January night. We're here in the Dashti Tavil. The Macedonian troops are still filing up that narrow gorge that we've just come through, and Alexander and his generals sit down somewhere here to work out the final stages of the plan. It seems to have been something like this. 3 infantry brigades, Amintas, Philotas and Koinos, were to go straight ahead, on down into the plain, to bridge the river which the Macedonians would have to cross in order to get fast to Persepolis. Alexander himself, with 3 squadrons of cavalry, including the companions, 1 infantry brigade, and light-armed skirmishers and archers, maybe 4,000 odd troops, was to head straight over there, round to the back of the pass, behind the Persian position. And 3,000 infantry under the general Ptolemy were to be left just here. These were probably the specialist Long Shields, the famous division who were part of the old Macedonian royal bodyguard. So, in the dead of night, the last stages of this incredibly risky and dangerous operation began to unfold, and on them the whole fate of the war would depend.
The path now plunged down a deep gorge into pitch darkness, and the brothers used an old shepherd's trick, cutting off strips of gum tree bark which burn like little torches.
Okay.
This was the worst part now, says Curtius. There was snow, and the darkness was terrifying.
Okay. We all ready? Wow.
Some of the Macedonians began to despair, and a few of the boys even started to cry. But at moments like this, says the historian Arrian, Alexander had the wonderful knack of cheering his men, calming their fears by his fearlessness.